Hello and welcome to Access UTV. My name's Michelle Edhouse and today we're talking about the guilt of parenting. Wow, how huge is that? Even just saying the guilt of parenting just seemed to bring up this huge, gigantic black cloud. And you know, here today it's sunny and bright and it's been a beautiful day. Now, how many black clouds of guilt do you have hanging over you as a parent? How many black clouds of guilt have you had projected at you by your parents? And what if those black clouds could just suddenly disappear? Now, what am I talking about? So this is number 4 in a series of distractor implants which Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here have put together in a what we call the distractor implants, and it's part of what we talk about in the foundation class. And there's also a Living Beyond Distraction book that covers all of this as well. So guilt, wow, you know, it's so huge in this reality about what we should have done. If I hadn't done this, then they would be doing this by now. If I hadn't done this, then they wouldn't be doing this now. If I had been a better this, a better that, not so much of this, all of this stuff is the guilt of what could have been that didn't. Now, what is guilt? Guilt is, as I said, it's a distractor implant. It's there to limit you from being you. So every time you make yourself wrong, make yourself the cause of, and function from guilt around anything, and parenting is such a huge space where we go to guilt, you're actually cutting off you being you. Now, I must say there's been a lot of guilt in my world before starting to be aware of this distractor implant, around anytime I took time for me, anytime I did something that was joyful and expansive and yummy for me, then I was being a bad mum. I should be spending more time with my kids. I should be researching what else that I could be doing with them. I should be doing craft with them and not painting on my own. You know, all of these things, they're all just a distractor. Like, how much more you and more contribution can you be if you choose those things that give you joy? You know, when you're already in a space of joy and happiness, what a gift to be to your children. And when something really shitty shows up in their worlds, you're more of a space of joy. So where have you been limiting the amount of joy you can have because of the guilt that it will create? And everything that is times a godzillion. Will you destroy and uncreate that, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9, boys, shorts and beyonds. And how many different things have occurred that you chose for you, and then something didn't quite work out the way it was supposed to, and the guilt set in. I mean, one example from my parenting is my eldest son. He was 22 months when the second one was born, and I went through a patch of postnatal depression, undiagnosed, but that's what it was, and I could not cope. I was not coping with anything, and up until that point, Aiden had been in cloth nappies, and cloth nappies were, you know, the thing to do, and that was such a contribution to the child, to the environment, to the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Then Damien was born, and the postnatal depression set in, and the very idea of doing 2 sets of cloth nappies, I may as well have just like buried myself under the shitty nappies, because that's how it made me feel. That's where I was functioning from. So Glenn and I made the choice to put both children into disposable nappies until I could cope again, until I was in a space where cloth nappies, yahoo, I get to do cloth nappies, I get to do nice, you know, hang them out on the line and make them all white, and I was just, yay! That is not the space that I was in, and so we made that choice. Now Aiden was heading towards being toilet trained. He was starting to really get that sense of, oh, I don't like this, oh, maybe I'll go to the toilet, maybe I'll use the potty. And then disposable nappies are fantastic at making them comfortable in their own do. So what occurred then was it actually expanded the length of time it took to potty train him. Like he was over 3 by the time he actually got back to that stage that he had been at 22 months. And I made myself so terribly wrong about that. I made myself terribly wrong about a huge amount of things, and that probably contributed to the expansion of time that I was in the postnatal depression stuff. And so if I'd had this tool of, wow, this guilt, it's just a distractor implant, what am I aware of? And choosing for me actually created greater for the kids. You know, what would their lives have been like if I had been stuck in that postnatal depression even further, or even worse, to the point where it was detrimental to their health? Aiden taking an extra year to be potty trained, that's not detrimental to anybody's health. And yet I've made myself so bad and wrong, and I've judged everything that I do as a parent as to whether or not I am being the best I can be for them, instead of taking myself into the equation. So what if you were being you? How much more gift and contribution would you be to your children if you weren't beating yourself up all the time? And that really is what guilt is. It's a psychological beating. You literally got the sticks out and you're whacking yourself constantly through, and those sticks are called guilt, blame, shame, and it's just really not the way to have an expensive, joyful parenting experience. And so that's my point of view anyway. So would you be willing to destroy and uncreate the distractor implants of blame, shame, regret and guilt, and allow you to see the truth, the awareness of you made these choices and this was created? And how does it get any better than that? Are you willing to choose a totally different reality? Are you willing to step out beyond those distractions and start to choose and create for you with the kingdom of we in mind? So thanks for joining me here at Access You TV, and I look forward to sharing more of these distractor implants and how to clear them, how to change them, and what else is possible beyond the distractor implants with parenting. Thanks for joining me.